All right, so for this problem over here, you're taking a look at adding in some oxalate, and it's sodium oxalate you're adding into calcium ions, and the calcium ions here are from the milk. And you know that when these react, the calcium ion is going to react with the oxalate to make a solid, or calcium oxalate, and then we get sodium ions that are left behind. Here, what you're solving for is the mass percent of calcium in the milk. So we're trying to figure out how much of the milk is the actual calcium here in grams. And we have to take a look at what we're given to figure out how we're going to get the problem started. We have 0.429 grams of calcium oxalate. So I know this is my A right here. And we know that it was 125 grams of milk, so that's going to be going into my mass percent. And for the sodium oxalate, we know that that's just in excess. And basically, I could set up my equation here from A, and I'm trying to get to the B for the calcium here. So setting this up, I know I'm solving for the mass percent of calcium. We need to figure out how many grams of calcium we have over our total grams of milk. And this was given to us, so I know basically that I'm trying to look for this number right here. And I know I'm going to times this by 100%. Now, this is just a stoichiometry problem. We know that there are 0.429 grams of calcium oxalate. And this is the precipitate that they took out of the milk. And I'm just going to go through my stoichiometry setup to get to my answer. I have my molar mass, 128.098 of the calcium oxalate. These cancel. And I want to switch it over into my calcium ions. So looking at my equation, it's a 1-to-1 ratio of calcium oxalate. And it's 1 mole over 1 mole of calcium ion. So again, these cancel. And I just want to take it out to grams. 40.078 grams of calcium in 1 mole of calcium. And if you guys work this all the way through, we're going to wind up with 0.134 grams of calcium. And you could tell that's my unit that was left over from doing stoichiometry. Now, it didn't want you to solve for how many grams of calcium were inside the milk sample. We're again finding the mass percent. And we're just going to go back to this equation that I set up earlier. It's grams of whatever you're looking for divided by grams of the entire sample. So I figured out how many grams of calcium I had. It's 0.134 grams of calcium. And we're just going to divide it by how many grams of milk we had. Here we're told that we had 125 grams of milk. And if you divide that out and then times it by 100%, it looks like we need 3 sig figs in our answer because we have 3 sig figs here and 3 sig figs here. So you wind up with 0.107% as your mass percent of calcium. And then we are done with the problem.